Hello and welcome to my vlog. This is the 1st of May. It is a Friday. It's about 6 p.m. It was beautiful air outside. It was actually outside today and it's lovely. So I'm doing the owls this month because, well, the real story is that I was moving and there was a lot of stress and everything last month and I didn't get to do it. So my roommate, because I was doing the reading rush and I was so excited and like doing the book challenges and stuff, and she's like, tell me about this. And I told her about it and she got involved. And then I'm getting her involved with the owls because she loves Harry Potter and it's gonna be brilliant and we're doing it together and I'm just really excited. But the book that I picked up first this month was not to do with my owls at all. It might fit a prompt, but not so far. And this is Emma by Jane Austen. This is for the Austenathon. I am helping to co-host it for this month and I'm very excited. This is my favorite Austen book. I read 3 of her books. I read Pride and Prejudice, Emma, as well as Northanger Abbey. And I need to read the rest as well because I am just spellbound by every word that she weaves, the way that she really does sentences with every wit. I love Emma. She's probably one of the characters I relate most to in all of fiction. I tend to have the not best qualities of sometimes being quite self-assured about my things that are not necessarily traits than others. So I can relate to her a lot and realize that, yeah, I should probably step down sometimes. Anyways, I also love this book. It is ridiculously funny. Mr. Woodhouse is absurd, and I've just been like underlining funny things that I liked from them and just utterly enjoying it. I need to physically read her books again and just like underline the heck out of them. Hello! It is Sunday, the 3rd of May. We are in a park. My roommate wishes to not be seen by the public.
Hello, public.
Hello, she's here. She's reading The Rest of Us Just Live Here. How are you feeling about that?
It's pretty great. Satchel and Finn just went to Kerouac's funeral in the Indie Kids story, and Mikey is clearly depressed.
Yes. And great representation of mental health.
Absolutely.
Fantasy with a lot of satire. It's one of my favorite books that more people should read, but there's no plot, which is great. Anyways, I'm reading Emma by Jane Austen. I am enjoying it a whole lot. I'm 170 pages, about 400, but it has like no actual dialogue. It is just thick, full pages, so it is a little dense, but I'm loving it. She's making faces at me. She's reading much faster than I am. Yeah, I'm just gonna walk around, and it is beautiful water near us, which is lovely. We are very cultured in Waterloo, Canada, and antisocial apparently to our art, which is kind of sad.
Yes. Oh, okay. I'm running after you.
Look what we found. It's probably not sanitary. Early morning of the 5th of May. This is the weather that I am trying to show you outside. It is beautiful. I've been listening to Belief, which is from a musical, I think. I don't know why. I just stumbled upon it when I was trying to listen to Jekyll and Hyde, and it is gorgeous. And I've been like replaying it probably for an hour, just listening to it on repeat. And it is gorgeous. My mental health has definitely not been as prime as could be expected. I think that it's hard to be isolated. It's hard to be a person that gives a lot and try to take care of myself well, try to take care of other people well, and, you know, fight all of the things that are not nice in the world. But it's been a little rough patch. I know that I have community. I know I have a lot of people who love and pray for me, so that's okay. But I always want to be kind of genuine, and I know it's like totally a shift of gears from probably me dancing around on rails, which was the last thing you saw. But that's kind of the life of every person. You see the highlights, but I also want to show the lowlights. I think that I was already not in a great time. I have PTSD, I have nightmares, so I woke up from nightmare and I was like reading Emma and it was lovely, and then I was like, you know, I have very little of left time on this audiobook. I think it expires probably in a few hours now, and I was trying to get through Motherhood by Shel Hetty, and I just couldn't read it. It is about a 39-year-old woman who decides that after a lifetime of not wanting kids, she might want kids. And I thought this was very interesting. I wanted to explore it. Ariel Bissett really recommended it, but for me it was a little too hard. I'm a young woman, younger than a lot of people would have such a desire to have children, but it is something that I really want. And as someone with PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, which means that My hormones are around, and I often don't get my periods. So the chances of me having children are quite lower, and the chances of me being able to sustain a pregnancy is quite low as well. And it's very difficult for me, and I don't want to phrase this in a way that sounds like commentary, because I don't think that every woman has to have a kid, but it's really hard for me sometimes to see, I guess, the privilege of some people that I might not be able to have and desire. And I don't want to say that in a way that's at all shaming women who don't want kids or anything like that. That's not at all what I'm saying. Just for me to see this, it really hurt. It really hurt me a lot. And I feel like that's an okay thing to say without at all saying that women on the other side of that don't have the same thing. But for me, it was hard. It was hard to get through. And I think I'm gonna DNF it. I feel bad because I don't think it's a bad book. And it's a Canadian author. It's a really important subject. Childhood, motherhood, whether you want kids or not, like, it's a lot. Like, the idea that people without kids, like women without kids, have to justify their existence when men without children don't have to do that. And I totally agree with that. Like, I don't think that, I'm not somehow lesser of a woman if I never have kids or never have biological kids, because either way, I do really believe in adoption, and I think it's really important. One of my best friends, she's just started a YouTube channel, Val the Extroverted, is adopted, and she's one of my favorite people on this earth. So I'm very glad that adoption brought me into her life. I'll link her channel somewhere. It's a weird time to link something when I'm mopey, but yeah, having her make videos have been a huge joy, and I got to help her create and like help her get started with her channel, and it is wonderful, even though we're separated by different cities now than where we grew up. And I don't know, it's just lovely to have that connection and to be able to share this part of the world that has happened a lot with my mental health. YouTube has, and having this community as well, and be able to discuss books. There's a lot of books that have made me heard, made me feel, and I feel bad putting down motherhood because I think that it talks about a really important subject. But I think right now with my mental health, it's not the subject that I need to be thinking about. But hopefully next time it will be sadder, or not sad. But either way, we don't always have to have highlights. It's okay if you're not feeling well. Make sure you get your support and get love, and let people know. Look what we have. You take this off, and it's absolutely perfect. It is now about 1 a.m. on May 9th, and I am just beginning the third part of Emma. I'm really, really loving this story. I have done barely any reading this week. I DNF'd Motherhood. I didn't read any of the other audiobooks I was supposed to be reading, and now I'm reading The Ship of the Dead, the last book in the Magnus Chase by Rick Riordan, and I'm enjoying it. I really love the story. We get to see Percy, which is glorious, but I don't know, I'm really feeling like reading classic literature, and I kind of don't want to read it because I know that I love it so much and I'm not in the mood for it. But yeah, I have not been listening to any of my audiobooks because I'm just not in the mood for them, and I'm sad because they're books that I've looked forward to and don't want to squander the chance to read them because library holds are very long. But I don't know, I just really feel like physically reading, which is so odd because for the last 3 years, the majority of the books I have read, like the vast majority of the books I've read have been audiobooks, and I've just been really feeling like reading slow books. And like reading them slowly. And this is hard because this is almost no dialogue whatsoever. So like the pages are packed. So even though it's like only 400 pages, I'm reading probably like 25 pages an hour. So I've done a lot of substantial reading, and I am on page 271 at this point. So, and there's pretty much no breaks in this book. So, because I think some copies are like over 600 pages, depending on how you cut it. I am really, really enjoying it. I adore the storytelling. The sass is great. The characters are sometimes a little bit caricatures, but I really enjoy them, and it's funny. Mrs. Elton, I've been yelling at her. I just wrote boundaries. Like, I was like, I am a pacifist, but I will punch her. It was just my aggravation at her being yelled at. So I'm enjoying it. I know that they're supposed to be a little bit ridiculous, and I am very much enjoying the romance. It is one of my favorites, and I am completely being endeavored by the man. I'm not saying because it's a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, depending on how well you know Jane Austen, who she ends up with, but I'm really enjoying it. and he's a character that I really love diving into because, especially during this era, having a character that is very well honoring and like shown to care deeply about other people and just shown to give everything and sacrifice for themselves with no desire for attention is a really attractive thing in watching a romance that is over 200 years take place, because there's like no really toxic masculinity in this at all, which is lovely to see. My dear Jane Austen, do you not realize how frustrating this is? Like, I realize I'm in volume 3, but it's still frustrating to see chapter 1 when it should be chapter 37. Like, I just got to chapter 18 for the second time, and now I have to return to feeling like I have known no progress at all. I was doing much better before I looked outside and saw that there was friggin' snow. Canada, it's May 9th. It was like 20 degrees a week ago. Please stop snowing. It's here. You just have to get all of those books and all the books in the living room in there. We are currently in transition because I'm trying to figure out how to organize my room, but right now we have Thai food, so that makes everything better. What are we here? We're here for Jane Austen because Jane Austen is a masterpiece. She herself is a masterpiece. Well, I don't know, but her work is a masterpiece. And I'm at chapter like 16, but I'm thinking of chapter 14 because I can't get out of my mind, and I wax poeted about it because I love that. I wrote, "How love retells a story, re-envisions a place, and takes the ordinary and makes it extraordinary." Because like I feel like this is such a universal feeling, despite the fact that it's 200 years old. She puts it in such a place like where the Regency era, the era in which the genteel are like starting to fade away, and yet captures so much of universal humanity. It's beautiful. And I don't know if anyone has ever been in love before, probably, but the idea of like re-entering after like a confirmation of emotions or something like that and doing something really ordinary. And this is what chapter 14 begins with of the 3rd volume. What totally different feelings did Emma take back to the house from what she had brought out? She had been only daring to hope for a little respite of suffering. She was now in quite exquisite flutter of happiness, and such happiness, moreover, that she believed must still be greater when the flutter should pass away. Like the idea that like the beginning of romance isn't just the greatest thing. That like sometimes when the butterflies die and the commitment is what lasts you, that is actually the best part. But there's also a beauty of renewal and a beauty of starting beginning. And they sat down to tea, the same party, round the same table. How often it had been collected, how often had her eyes fallen on the same shrubs in the lawn and observed the same beautiful effects of the western sun, but never in such a state of spirits, never in anything like it. And with difficulty she could summon enough of her usual self to be the attentive lady of the house, and even the attentive daughter. There's so many lines that I have been like repeating to my roommate. I've been reading so much aloud, and she's trying to read Artemis Fowl and loving her reread, but dreading the movie, obviously. And I'm just like interrupting her to read this, and I don't know, I love this, and it's such a universal feeling. Like, I totally been in that situation where like, you know, you confirm your feelings and you go back and you don't really want to tell everyone yet, so like, you're just acting as if nothing has changed, and it's so usual, and yet in your heart you're kind of like exploding with joy, and it is great. It's much too late than I would care to admit. However, I have finished Emma by Jane Austen, and it is delightful. I love the ending. I thought that it did a lot of good service to almost every character but Harriet. I'm still uncomfortable with the disservice Harriet got in the end, because I think that it kind of discredits a little bit of Emma's like character development of caring for others more than herself and not just as a means to herself. However, I am satisfied in all other areas except for the fact that dear sweet Jane Austen, you know, beautifulness, ingenious, that dwelt in our world for way too short, and, you know, could have read so many more books if it hadn't been the Regency era and everyone died way too early. However, second last paragraph of this beloved novel has Mrs. Elton on it. That odious woman had to plague such a beautiful last chapter. So, in all other areas, I am completely content. I have lots of thoughts, and I'm definitely going to write a review of this and film one, hopefully, because, yeah, I'm really bad at writing reviews. But I feel like my biggest fear is always that I'm going to, like, miss something. And since I made really good notes and, like, spend way too many hours reading this book, I think that I can feel assured that I'm not, like, being completely amiss with anything. I am also, what am I doing? I am saying that I've also mostly read The Ship of the Dead. I have 3 hours left of it. I did the live show yesterday and it was delightful and wonderful. I love being with Margaret and Kenzie. And I'm probably gonna start Hunger Games now and do my shells, and I'm very excited. Happy reading and writing. Happy all your adventures. Thanks for listening to me. You can find me on social media, especially my Instagram tends to be very alive with whatever books I'm reading, especially if it's like a Jane Austen book or like something that I'm annotating. I'm going to be annotating Hunger Games, so that's going to be fun. Yeah, that's where you can find me. More active than my bad vlogs. But I hope to see you soon and take care of yourself.